Welcome to the grind.
There's a 2-hour window I get to see my woman. There's a clock ticking on her. It ain't my friend. Work wasn't easy, but we've been fit. Oh, I'm home, and she's off to bed. Oh, no. Money, my baby liar.
Welcome to the Daily Grind. I'm your host, Devin Murray. Thanks for joining us for another episode. It's a beautiful, what day is it? It's a Wednesday. It's a beautiful, actually not so beautiful here, Wednesday. But we all went to the polls yesterday. I hope you did. I hope you did your civic duty. Because Adam Silver gave the boys the night off. And so everyone could go vote. So I hope you took advantage of your free night. But we are back to it tonight. Right back into the fire of the NBA season. We've got 14 games tonight. Holy crap. Let's get... well, hold on. Before we get started, I'm finishing up the editing process on the over and unders reactions pod. I got 2 of the 3 segments filmed finally with the guests. And so I'm going to have one of those out today, one of those out tomorrow, and then one of those out on Friday. So finally, we're getting to those. Hopefully they won't be too dated by the time you get to listen to them. But those will be video podcasts where I've got us recorded on our Zoom calls. And so I'll cover half of the 10 teams in each episode, 3 parts, and I'll do 5 teams with a guest, and then 5 teams quickly just by myself. So you have that to look forward to. It's more me. So I guess all I can really say about that is you're welcome. Let's get into the first game tonight. We've got the Jazz at the Pacers. I just love teasing you guys right before we get it. Before we get into it, had a really good night betting the other night. Went 6-3 on plays that were confirmed. Was leaning the Nuggets, and they ended up covering, but I didn't put in a bet on that. You know, sometimes whenever I've just got a winning night, you just don't really want to cut into your profits too much. And so I feel like we're back on track. Again, if we just take out those 2, that bad Saturday and Sunday that we had, where I went 2-10. Other than that, I feel like I've been doing pretty well. Just a couple of highlights real quick. We called out the Timberwolves beating the Celtics, the first loss for the Celtics. T-Wolves came back whenever Cat went out, and Anthony Edwards kind of took over overtime there. What else did we have here? Missed on the Wizards. It was kind of a rough start to the night. I think I lost the first 3 bets and then won the last 6. And so stayed away from the Mavericks game because Kyrie was a late ad and that line moved quite a bit, and so I didn't know what to do with it. Terrible play on the Spurs. They just got blown out. Again, just Jeremy Sohan just destroying any chance that the Pacers have, or the Spurs have, of being, a really competent team at this point. Draymond was a late ad in the Pistons-Warriors game. The Warriors ended up winning by 11. That line jumped from 6, I think we talked about it on the pod, from 6 or 4.5 to 6, and then I was worried if it got above 8, and sure enough, it jumped to 9. They ended up covering, but you would have been sweating that one out. So that was a stay away. Felt good about that one. We hopped on the we hopped on the Clippers. They lost. The James Harden experiment didn't go too well. You can hear us talk about that more on part 2 of the over and under reactions. That'll be coming out tomorrow. And then we got hot. Thank God we got hot. 0-3 start. I was like, geez, maybe I just don't have it this year. But no. We're still on to something. We took the Lakers, and that game was close. Obviously, the Lakers feel like they should have won. You loved winning those little 2.5 bets whenever you would have lost them straight up. So glad we didn't hop on the money line there. We took the Nets. They covered. They were underdogs at home to the Bucks. They just barely covered. But hey, what are you going to do? The home run of the night is we bet on the Rockets to win again against the Kings, even though I think I just took plus 2.5, and they ended up destroying the Kings. This is not last year's Kings. They don't have the same edge. You know, that team had a vibe around them. They had a certain energy. It was like, oh, this is the Kings' year. You know, now they have to really prove themselves. It was fun. Now we want to see what you're made of. And I hated the Kings going into that spot. As we talked about, the Wolves. The Wolves covered. The Bulls covered as well. They beat the Jazz at home. The line was only 3.5. I didn't think that there was any way that the Jazz were really winning that game in Chicago. And so 3.5 seemed like just free money at that point. And then we stayed away we got on the Thunder as well at home against the Hawks. The Hawks were getting too much love. They were betting favorites right up until the close, I believe, as SGA was a late ad. But even then, the closing line was only half a point for OKC. You're giving me a fully healthy Thunder squad at home against the Hawks? Yeah, that was a walk away. That was a walk-off winner. Nothing to really worry about there, in my opinion. And sure enough, they won by 9. So 1 by 9. Oh, we're bringing jokes back. And then we stayed away from Pelicans Nuggets. To be honest, I just wasn't really paying attention when this game started because I was riding high off of my wins from earlier in the night and watching those games finish up. And so didn't get on this. The Pelicans jumped out to a big lead by the time it was kind of back on my radar, and I realized that I didn't get anything. And at that point, I wasn't feeling, like I said, I wasn't feeling risking my good night. And so the Nuggets end up coming back, outscored the Pelicans by 19 in the third quarter and 11 in the fourth quarter, and won by almost 20. So if you listened to the pod and you took the Nuggets, congratulations. I did not get on that one. But, so that's 6-3 on the night, on plays. We love to see it. More importantly, the 2 stayaways that I had that were intentional stayaways, those played out kind of like I thought. Kyrie was a late ad. I didn't like where the Magic were sitting at that point. They end up losing. Draymond's a late ad. Line gets pushed up to 9. They only win by 11. You're sweating that out the entire time with a 10-point comeback. I mean, they were down going into the fourth. And so I'm feeling good about my interpretation of what I'm seeing on a night-to-night basis. And with that, we're going to finally get into tonight's games. I promise. Actually, no, I'm just kidding. It's for real this time. We're going. All right, so first game on the docket is Jazz traveling to Indiana to take on the Pacers, where the Pacers opened up as 5-point favorites. The line is currently moved to 6, and the line is moved to 6 because there's a ton of bets coming in on the Pacers. Like, a huge majority of the bets are coming in on the Pacers. And as many bets are coming in on the Pacers, even more money is coming in on the Pacers. Everybody loves the Pacers here. The Jazz lost by, I believe, 17 in Chicago the other night. People are finally starting to realize that the Jazz aren't very good. Unfortunately, this seems a little too easy. It's early in the night, but I think this is our leading candidate for our fishy line of the night. The Pacers, if you recall, just won by 41 against the darlings of the NBA, the Spurs. And now they're hosting the Jazz. And this line's opened at 5? Are you kidding me? There aren't really any noticeable injuries it's going to change how these teams have looked over the past couple of games. And the Jazz are on a 3-game losing streak. What are we doing here? A good rule of thumb is that Vegas always knows more than you do. If something looks like a fish and flops like a fish and smells like a fish, it's probably a fish. I have no statistical basis for leaning this way on this play other than looking at the line and going, okay, if this much money's coming in since you guys opened it, how have you only moved it a point? We've seen lines already this year with less bias than this move up to 3-4 points, and we're only getting one right now. Unless some kind of news breaks that the Pacers are sitting somebody that's unexpected and not currently on their injury report, I'm taking the Jazz because Vegas is not going to pull one over on me. Give me the Jazz plus 6.5. The other stinker game in the opening slot tonight is Wizards hosting the Hornets in Charlotte. The Hornets opened as 4-point favorites, and now they are currently 2-point favorites. The public seems to like the Hornets, but a good amount of sharp money is coming in on the Wizards. So this is another one that kind of makes me perk up a little bit, because although the Wizards did cover against Atlanta and Miami, I think 2 times where I bet against them, they haven't really been close in any of these games. Do I think that they're going to beat the Hornets? No. So why would I think that they're going to lose by less than 3? This is another one that, unless something pops up on the injury report, I'm taking the Hornets. I think that the Hornets have been scrappy. They just haven't really executed it that well. But a Wednesday night in Charlotte, maybe it's because I watched them on League Pass and their announcers are always so hyped, but I feel like that's I don't think it's like a great home court advantage. I don't think anyone's scared to go play in Charlotte, but I think that it is like an energetic, lively environment. And again, maybe that's just because I watch them on League Pass and their play-by-play guy is just, in the best way, an absolute psycho. On the Wizards side of the argument, if you want to make it, they, as I've noted before, they do lead the league in pace. They get their shots up, and they're number 3 in the league in assists per game. Charlotte has not shot the 3 ball very well this year. I think that they, for the rest of the season, will probably shoot it a little bit better. But if they do get into playing the Wizards game and they're not hitting their shots tonight, I see how the Wizards could not get blown out. But again, the line's only 2. I just don't see them winning this game on the road. I don't see the Wizards winning pretty much any games on the road because I don't think this team really cares about playing with each other. It's not a team that I think is going to come together and rally and bond whenever they're on the road. You know, and now that I'm looking at it, the Hornets are number 4 in pace. So this is going to be a really, really up and down game. That's my argument if you want to say that the Wizards could cover here, but I'm just not buying it. I'm sticking with the Hornets plus 2 as long as there's no injuries. All right, next up we've got the game of the night, probably. Celtics at Sixers. 2 one-loss teams in a battle for the top seed in the East early on in the season. The Celtics opened up at 1-point favorites. It's now somewhere between 1.5 and 2.5. The Sharps can't make up their minds here. It's pretty split on the money. The public, unsurprisingly, loves the Celtics. It looks like Derek White is probable. He'll be back. He was absent for their only loss of the season in Minnesota. Maybe if they have Derek White in there at the end of the game, at the end of regulation, it's a different outcome. The Sixers are 6-1 in the season, but I'm not really impressed with them so far. I've been impressed with Maxey individually. Embiid's had a good season so far, obviously. Put up 48, but it's against Washington. They've played Toronto twice. They played Portland once. They lost at Milwaukee in the first game of the season when it's probably, the worst that Milwaukee's looked. Their only kind of good win is Phoenix. But they did that to Phoenix after the Suns had a crazy week losing to the Wembanyama experience twice. If Derek White is in tonight, I'm taking the Celtics -1. Can I please win a bet on this team? Although I did pick against them for the Wolves, and I won that bet. So I guess technically I have won on a Celtics pick by going against them. But let's get one for the Celtics. Let's make Nick O'Neilio happy if he's listening today. Next up, we've got the Clippers going to Brooklyn to play the Nets in James Harden's second game with the team. The public likes the Nets, and the Sharps seem to be leaning pretty heavily on the Clippers here. Clippers are favored by 4.5, and it's kind of stayed there. Not a whole lot of movement on this line. And if you've been listening to this podcast, you probably can guess which way I'm going to lean here. I've liked the Nets all year. Bet on them quite a few times. I think that they're undervalued by, if not just the national media, but the betting public. It looks like they're going to have Nick Claxton out again, but they've already dealt with that. They've figured out how to work around that. Lonnie Walker looks like he's going to play again tonight, so that's a boost for them. Terrence Mann has been upgraded to questionable. He has been out, but this seems like another night where they're going to throw that four-man star-studded lineup out there with Zubac and hope that it works. And we go into it on the over and under reactions with the Clippers, but that starting lineup hasn't been great so far in the one game that they played. It looked pretty stagnant. They were a -8 in the fourth quarter. I don't think that the Clippers should be favored on the road with anybody or against anybody until they kind of get it together and prove that they can do it. So if I'm having to bet this line tonight, give me the Nets +4.5. Next game on the docket, we've got the San Antonio Fighting Wembies headed to New York. Wemby's first time in Madison Square Garden, taking on the Knicks, where the Knicks are 9.5-point favorites. This opened at 9.5. On some books, you could even get Spurs +10.5. Now, granted, the Spurs did get blown out by the Pacers, as we just covered a couple of games ago. This seems like a little bit of an overreaction, though. One thing that just dropped was Wemby said that MSG was a little smaller than he had imagined when he first saw it. So that does give me some pause. I feel like he kind of burned up any goodwill he had as a visiting player. I mean, obviously, I think the fans there are going to be excited to see him. But personally, I think it's a pretty bold move going in there, saying, just immediately dissing the arena that you're about to play in for the first time, especially when it's the Mecca. The public is all over the Spurs here, and even more of the sharp money is on the Spurs. There's not a ton to comment here on the injury report side. It looks like Keldon Johnson is probable and Devin Vassell is doubtful. I'm going to lean the Spurs here because I think that maybe this might be the night that we've seen enough Jeremy Sohan running this show. I think that there's a chance that Wemby goes off here. I think that Pop runs a good amount of the offense through Wemby tonight. Even with that being said, now that I'm looking at the depth chart, the Knicks just have more players. They got more guys that you can count on. Maybe the moment does get a little bit too big. Maybe the crowd is anti-Wemby, not just indifferent. I would expect this line to move down a little bit as much money has been coming in on the Spurs, and if anything, it's going the other way. And so I wouldn't quite peg this as a fishy line of the night, but after rethinking some things, give me the Knicks at home to win by double digits. Next game up in the 7 o'clock Eastern spot, the Phoenix Suns traveling to Chicago to take on the Bulls. The Bulls are opened as 1.5-point favorites. It's hanging around 1. No surprise here. The public loves the Suns. A lot of the public money is coming in on the Suns. The Sharps seem to be more split. The Bulls finally broke their 3-game losing streak and beat Utah on Monday at home. Of note here, Bradley Beal has been upgraded to questionable, but Devin Booker is out. And so I'm going to assume that Bradley Beal is not going to make his first appearance tonight. Obviously, if that does pop out between now and tip, this will kind of change the line and maybe change how I'm thinking about it. Although, first game of Bradley Beal back, am I really going to be too scared of that? Or think that that's really going to swing the outcome of the game? Not so sure. Patrick Williams and Alex Caruso are both probable for the Bulls. But it looks to me like the Suns are getting no love. I know they've got KD. They've got the best player in the game, I would think, tonight. You'd like to see Booker playing, but Booker's only played 2 games this season. And KD was able to carry them at Detroit in a 14-point win. And I don't really think that Chicago is any better than Detroit. If anything, I think that Detroit gives them more matchup problems than Chicago can. I'm going to not read too much into this latest Bulls victory. And I'm going to side with the public here and take the Suns +1. It pretty much looks like everybody is listed in one way or another on the injury report for our next game, which is the Memphis Grizzlies hosting the Miami Heat. Just to get through the injury report as it stands right now, Bam is available. Jimmy is probable. Haywood Highsmith is available. So is Jaime Jaquez Jr. Nikola Jovic is out. Kevin Love is available. Not sure that means anything. Caleb Martin is out. Duncan Robinson is available. On the Grizzlies side of things, the usuals are out. Jake LaRavia is in the G League. Derrick Rose is out. Xavier Tillman is out. And John Conchar is doubtful. And they've still got G.G. Jackson on a 2-way. Yikes. The Heat are favored by 1 at this point. It opened up the Grizzlies -1.5. I think that the Xavier Tillman news and the Derrick Rose news kind of swung that line back into the Heat's favor. As you guys know here, we're not super high on the Heat. Not big fans of their roster and the way that team's put together. And I'm telling you guys, the Grizzlies looked good with Biyombo in there at the end of the Portland game. The defensive rating for the Grizzlies while Biyombo and JJJ are on the court, so JJJ can play the 4 instead of being forced to play the 5, and he can kind of range around a little bit more. Their defensive rating was a 68, which is pretty insane. Now, granted, limited sample size, and it was against the Blazers, but I don't think that the Heat really have that. I don't think they really have an offense that's more threatening. I'm not really worried about their outside shooters as much as I am the Blazers. So give me the Grizzlies +1.5. Let's get on a winning streak, boys. Next game up, we've got the Cavaliers traveling to Oklahoma City to take on the Thunder. This opened up at Cavs -1. It's now moved to Cavs -2. The public is all over the Cavs, and the Sharps are joining in. Now, maybe I just don't know anything about basketball, but can someone explain to me why the Cavs are favored on the road against a healthy Thunder team? They don't have anybody of note on the injury report, as you can see if you're watching the video pod. They just beat a hot Atlanta team at home. They barely lost to Golden State at home. They should have beat New Orleans at home. They beat Detroit at home. The only bad loss that they have so far is they got smoked by the Nuggets on a Sunday afternoon game in Oklahoma City when church is still going on. I don't understand why the public's all over the Cavs. They haven't really shown me anything. I haven't been super impressed by them. The Cavs are one of the worst shooting teams in the league. The Thunder are one of the best shooting teams in the league. The Cavs have a negative net rating. The Thunder just, at every metric, I think, are a better team. And they're better coached. I don't think that this is a rat line because the public seems to be eating this up. But I'm taking the Thunder all day. It's probably my biggest lean of the night. I guess everyone else is overreacting to the win versus Golden State on Sunday, but I'm not going to do it. I'm taking Oklahoma City at home. Give me the points. +2. All right, next up we've got the Detroit Pistons going to Milwaukee to play the Bucks, where the Bucks are a whopping 12-point favorite. Now, this one is interesting because we've got a majority of the bets coming in on the Bucks, but pretty much over 90% of the money is coming in on the Pistons. We've got some believers. You know, we've been believers on this podcast all season. We think the Pistons are pretty good. You know, you could look at this as simply as, hey, the Pistons are 2-6 and the Bucks are 4-2. But if you dive into it just a little bit, you'll see that they're plus minus as a team. The Pistons are 2 spots down from where the Bucks are in the league in overall plus minus. We know how bad the Bucks are on defense. I feel like Cade Cunningham's going to be able to get to his spots. I feel like they're going to get some open shots on the wing. Unfortunately, the guy that's going to be taking some of those is Killian Hayes, but the Bucks defense might be so bad on the wings that Killian Hayes has a decent night. I'm not saying that it should happen, but I'm not sure that the Bucks should be favored by 12 against like the Phoenix Mercury at this point. Have they proven anything? I don't think that the Bucks lose this game, but I don't think that they blow the Pistons out. Give me Detroit plus 12.5. Screw the injuries. I don't care about them. Next up, we've got the Lakers traveling to Houston to take on the Rockets, where we get to see everybody's favorite storyline play out, which is Dylan the Villain Brooks versus LeBron James. Dylan said yesterday that he's ready to lock him up. He's old, apparently. He's even older this year, DB. This is your chance. Now, the Lakers here are favored by 3.5. It opened at 4.5. The public likes the Lakers. Shocker there. The Sharps are all over the Rockets. A lot of money coming in on the Rockets. Quick injury report rundown. Anthony Davis is questionable with his more than 4 hours. He's had his groin active for more than 4 hours is what it looks like. Rui is probable. Jared Vanderbilt is still out, and so is Gabe Vincent. For the Rockets, Tari Eason is probable. The one of note is Amen Thompson is going to miss his 3rd game in a row. Now, personally, I've been a lot more impressed with Asar Thompson than I have been Amen Thompson, so I don't think that's as big of a hit. But I'm not sure that I like the Lakers in this spot. They've lost 2 tough ones, one in Orlando, one in Miami the other night. They seem to be hung up on the Miami loss a little bit more than you would hope. I think that they probably think that they're going to walk into Houston and come out with an easy dub. And I don't think Dylan Brooks is going to make it easy on them. I think they're going to have to work for it. I think that this has come down to a final possession game. I wouldn't be shocked to see the Lakers win this. But 3.5 points at home, there's some narrative around this game. Maybe the refs keep it a little close. I'm going to take the Rockets at home, plus 4. Because don't tell anybody, but the Rockets have a better net rating than the Lakers do. I'm telling you guys, this Rockets team isn't bad. This isn't the Rockets from the last 3 years. It's a different team, different coach, different culture. It's all because of everybody's favorite, DB. I'm telling you. All right, next up, we've got the New Orleans Pelicans traveling up to Minnesota to take on the Timberwolves, where the Timberwolves opened as 6.5-point favorites, and they're now 8.5-point favorites, all the way up to 9.5 in some areas. The public loves the Timberwolves. Hey, the Timberwolves, they beat the Celtics at home. Oh, they beat the Nuggets at home. This team is gonna be incredible the rest of the year. People just never learn their lessons. The public's leaning pretty heavily towards the T-Wolves here. The Sharps, on the other hand, are split 50-50. Of note on the injury report, Alvarado's obviously still out. Najee Marshall's out. CJ McCollum's out. Trey Murphy is still out. The one of note is Zion Williamson is out tonight for personal reasons. And you're getting a pretty healthy Minnesota Timberwolves squad. This line has already swung 2 points towards the T-Wolves since the Zion news came out. It looks like they're doing a decent job of evening out the money by moving that line a little bit more. I can't see the Pelicans running a very efficient offense. If you want to take the team total under, that might be a good bet for the Pelicans against the Pelicans tonight. But we do spreads here. We don't shy away from hardly any games. I don't care about the 2 points. I think Zion's worth more than 2 points to this team. As thin as the bench is, with all the injuries that they've been dealing with, a tough stretch lately for the Pelicans. I think the Wolves have more bodies. I think that they want to close out this 3-game home stretch that they've got. Give me the Wolves in a big winner, -8.5. All right, next up we've got the Toronto Raptors traveling down to the other border to play the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks opened up as 6-point favorites. They're now 4-point favorites on most books. It looks like the sharp money came in pretty heavy on the Raptors early on. The public not as decisive. It's pretty much split for the public bets. There's not really any reason that I'm seeing that the Mavericks shouldn't be favored by more. The injury report's coming in pretty clean for everybody. Maxi Kleber's questionable, but Kleber hasn't been the best on this team, to be honest, as far as plus-minus stuff. I guess everybody's really hyped about that Toronto win over the Spurs in overtime. I watched most of that game. I wouldn't extrapolate too much from there. And yeah, you don't have to go against Wemby tonight, but you're probably going up against the second-best rookie this year in Derek Lively. With a healthy Mavs team, I don't see the Raptors winning this game. I don't think that there's a whole lot of paths to victory for them. And so if the line's going to move down from 6 to 4, and I've just got a bet by the Mavs winning by 2 possessions, I think it's pretty simple for me. I'm not going to overthink it. I don't think that the Mavs are as good as their 6-1 record shows, but at home against a not super talented Toronto team, I'm going to take the Mavs, -4. Next up, our second to last game of the night, we've got the Portland Trailblazers staying on the West Coast and traveling to Sacramento to take on the Kings, where the Kings are 8-point favorites. This might be our rat line of the night. The Kings lost their last 2 games in Houston while they were favored. Weren't favored by me. We called out the Rockets on both of those games. The sharp money is coming all in on the Blazers. They love this 8-point line. They think the Kings, they can't even win a game against the lowly Rockets. De'Aaron Fox is out. What's this team going to do? How are they going to put points on the board? Well, here's the thing, dear listener. Scoot Henderson's out. Anthony Simon's out. Ish Wainwright's out. Robert Williams III is having surgery. This is not the same Blazers team that it was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, they beat the Grizzlies, and then they lost to the Grizzlies once they stuck in Bismack Biyombo. I look for Malik Monk to have a good game. I think Sabonis has a good game. I think that they light the beam tonight. Give me the Kings, -8. And I say that that's the rat line because if Vegas really wanted this, if they really wanted this money split 50-50, probably be Kings -4.5. Kings -4. Somewhere in that range, 4 to 5. 8's too high. Nobody thinks that the Kings, after their recent performances, are going to come out and get a double-digit victory, except for me, because this is what I do. All right, next up, we finally get to the last game of the night. I think that this is on TNT, or is this Wednesday night? So is it on ESPN? I'm not sure. But it's Warriors at Nuggets. The matchup that we were all denied in the Western Conference Finals last year in the playoffs. The Nuggets are favored by 5. It opened up at 5. It's down to 3.5. With a lot of the bets coming in on the Nuggets. And even more of the money coming in on the Nuggets. It seems that everybody loves Denver at home, and with good reason. But it should be noted that Jamal Murray is out again tonight. Nikola Jokic is probable. Konchar is out. And then it looks like Draymond Green is out tonight for the Warriors, and Gary Payton is questionable, which is probably why so much of the public loves Denver here. This is going to be one that I'll just go ahead and tell you. I'm going to wait and see if something really develops with Jokic, but this is an ESPN game. I think that they're going to have their stars play tonight. That 3.5 line just seems a little weird. Seems a little low. That makes me think that there's actually a decent chance that maybe Jokic continues to get downgraded as the day goes along. So we'll keep an eye on that, because if Murray and Jokic are out, I would kind of have to lean Warriors there if they're getting any points. Now, the only thing that I worry about is it's on the road in Denver. The Warriors are an older team. They've been playing at sea level the last few nights. So while I'm going to wait and see if anything develops of note on the injury report later, I think that I'm going to lean the Nuggets at home. I didn't get in on them on their last game. Stayed away. Should have gotten on them. They came back and just blew out the Pelicans in the second half. Again, just we were curious how the conditioning of that team was going to hold up. And I've got the same questions here with the Warriors. So we're going to wait on it, but check on Twitter for final confirmation. But we're going to lean Nuggets minus 3.5. More than anything, I'm just excited to see that game. I hope everybody that can play, plays. I understand that Draymond's out, but I just want to see Steph running around there with MPJ trying to guard him. It'd be a lot of fun. All right, that's it for the podcast. Keep an eye out for those over and under reactions that should be coming out today. I know. I keep saying it. But hey, guys, I'm trying to get this stuff rolling, get the ball rolling, get this thing off the ground. So appreciate your patience, sticking with me, and coming back and checking out the Daily Grind. Make sure that you're following us on Twitter at The Grind Podcast. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at The.Grind Podcast. As always, I've been your host, Devin Murray. Please don't lose your money tonight. Please don't even put yourself in a position to where you could lose a bunch of money tonight. We're just here to have fun and take in a game that we all love. Let's not ruin any lives, any households over some tricky betting lines, because you never know what can happen. I wish you all luck on your bets tonight. Make sure you check in on Twitter for final confirmation on plays. Enjoy a full night of NBA action. I know that I'm looking forward to it, and we will see you back here tomorrow.
And she's off to bed. Oh no. Money, my baby liar.